He showed the alien girl a romantic movie. She thought it was a marriage guide. Jack sat on the edge of the supply crate, staring at the sunset that painted the alien sky in orange and violet streaks. The air smelled faintly of iron, sharp but clean. This was his third month stranded on this colony world, and silence had become his only companion. His datapad buzzed softly beside him. He was halfway through repairing the signal array that might, one day, send a message back to human space. But today he felt too tired to keep working. That was when he heard it, a soft, musical laugh. He turned, startled. Salira stood at the tree line, her wide, luminous eyes reflecting the fading light. Her skin shimmered faintly, a pale silver green that seemed to glow when the sun dipped lower. She tilted her head curiously, holding a handful of glowing fruit as if it was an offering. "You sit alone again," she said, her voice light and curious. Jack smiled despite himself. "Yeah, just thinking." She stepped closer, her bare feet barely making a sound. "Thinking is heavy work. You should stop before it hurts you." He chuckled. Salira had a strange way of speaking, like every sentence was both wisdom and mischief at the same time. He patted the crate next to him. "Come sit. I will show you something tonight. Something from my world." Her ears twitched with interest. "From Earth?" "Yes, a movie. A human story." Salira climbed onto the crate, sitting cross-legged like a curious child. Jack opened his datapad, scrolled past a dozen files, and picked an old romantic film, one he had seen years ago. It was light, silly, and full of cliches, perfect for company. The screen glowed, casting pale light on Salira's face. She leaned so close that Jack could feel the warmth of her skin. Her luminous eyes reflected every frame like tiny moons. The movie played. A man and woman met, argued, fell in love, went on dates, laughed under the rain, danced under fairy lights, and kissed under the stars. Jack smiled at the cheesy dialogue, but Salira did not laugh. She was silent, perfectly still, absorbing every word as if it was sacred teaching. When the final wedding scene ended and the credits rolled, she sat in silence for a long moment. Then she turned to him and said, "This was important." Jack grinned. "Not really. It was just a story. Entertainment." But Salira shook her head. "I see now. This is how humans join their lives. These are the steps." Before Jack could respond, she stood up, offered him one of the glowing fruits, and said with perfect seriousness, "Then I must do this too." Jack laughed, confused. "Do what?" Salira leaned forward, her glowing eyes steady. "Become your chosen one, your mate, your wife. That is the word." Jack nearly dropped the datapad. Jack blinked at her, trying to process what she had just said. "Salira, no, that is not how it works," he said with an awkward laugh. "It was just a film. It is pretend. Humans do not follow it like a rulebook." But Salira tilted her head, puzzled. "Why would you show me pretend? Your eyes were soft when you watched it. Your mouth smiled when they touched hands. You even gave me food while the story played. These are not pretend things. You have followed the steps." Jack rubbed his face with both hands. "Oh boy!" She reached out suddenly and took his hand, her glowing fingers warm against his skin. "There. It is complete now." "Complete?" "Yes," she said proudly. "You have shared food. You have shared laughter. You have shared warmth. You are my husband now." Jack froze. He half expected her to laugh, to reveal she was teasing him. But she was not joking. Her expression was deadly serious, almost ceremonial. "Salira," he tried again. "Humans do not just get married by watching a movie together. There are papers, and ceremonies, and choices." Salira's ears twitched. "We have no papers. We have choices. And I choose you." Before he could respond, she turned on her heel and darted back toward the village. "Wait!" Jack called after her, but she was gone, her laughter echoing through the alien trees. He groaned and pressed his palms to his forehead. This was going to be trouble. The next morning, Jack's fears came true. He woke to the sound of several voices outside his small shelter. Peeking through the window, he saw a group of villagers gathered in a half-circle. They were smiling. Some were carrying gifts, baskets of fruit, polished stones, carved wooden charms. When he stepped outside, Salira was waiting proudly, her posture tall and confident. "He rises," she announced happily. "My husband comes." Jack felt heat rush to his face. "Salira, stop saying that." But the villagers cheered. An elder, a tall man with a crown of woven branches, stepped forward and clapped Jack on the shoulder. "You honor our daughter well," the elder said. "You have joined with her by the sacred steps. Now we must finish the joining." Jack raised his hands. "Hold on. There has been a misunderstanding." The elder's expression grew stern. "A husband must not deny his wife. That would bring dishonor." Jack swallowed. The entire village was staring at him now. Salira was beaming like she had just saved his life. He forced an awkward smile. "Right? Of course. No dishonor." The villagers cheered again, and Jack felt like the ground had been pulled out from under him. That night, Salira came to his shelter again. She carried glowing flowers in her arms and laid them carefully on the table. "First we must eat from one plate," she said, matter of fact. "Then we must dance." The movie showed this. Jack stared at her. "Salira, you really think that film was a guidebook for marriage?" "Yes, you showed it to me." "Why would you lie?" "I was not lying. It was just for fun. Just to make the night less quiet." Salira's expression softened for a moment. She sat on the edge of the table and looked at him with those wide, glowing eyes. "You are alone, Jack. I see it in your face. You eat alone. You sleep alone. Your laughter is small. I do not want you to be alone." Jack's chest tightened at her words. He looked away. She reached out and touched his hand gently. "So eat with me. Dance with me. It will make the heaviness in your heart go away." Jack hesitated. Part of him wanted to argue more, to set the record straight once and for all. But another part of him, the part that had been silently aching for months, just wanted to feel that warmth again. Finally, he sighed and said, "Fine. One dinner. One dance." Salira smiled, and for a moment, the alien world felt a little less lonely. The next morning, Jack woke up to noise. Loud noise. When he stepped outside his shelter, his jaw nearly dropped. Half the village had gathered again, this time carrying decorations. Strands of glowing vines, baskets of bright fruit, and carved stones arranged in intricate patterns. A group of young alien children ran past him giggling, leaving trails of colored dust on the ground. Salira was in the center of it all, her silver-green skin glowing faintly in the sunlight. She looked proud, almost regal. "What is happening?" Jack asked, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. One of the elders stepped forward. "Preparations," he said simply. "Preparations for what?" "For the joining feast," Salira answered cheerfully, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "Feast? No, no, no. This is all a mistake." But the elder shook his head. "Mistakes are for children. You are not a child. You have taken her hand. You have shared food. You have accepted her flowers. These things are not undone." Jack opened his mouth to argue but stopped when he saw the hopeful expression on Salira's face. She was holding a garland of glowing blossoms, and her eyes were shining like stars. "You do not want to shame me, do you?" she asked softly. Jack felt the weight of 100 alien eyes on him. His shoulders slumped. "No," he muttered. "Good," Salira said brightly. "Then tonight we dance." Jack groaned. By nightfall, the entire village was alive with sound. Drums made from stretched animal hide echoed through the clearing. Lantern-like plants glowed, casting soft light across the crowd. Jack stood awkwardly at the edge of the gathering while Salira's friends circled him like curious birds. "You must hold her hand," one of them giggled. "No, you must hold her waist," another corrected. Jack felt his face turn red. "I can handle this, thank you." But they were not done. "You must feed her first bite," said one, pushing a plate into his hands. Jack looked at the strange glowing food. "Feed her." Salira nodded, smiling softly. Like in the story. Remember? They fed each other cake. Jack sighed and picked up a piece, offering it to her. She leaned forward and took the bite delicately, her lips brushing his fingers for a split second. The crowd cheered. Jack wanted to disappear into the ground. When the music began, Salira took his hand and pulled him toward the center of the clearing. Wait, wait, wait. I do not know your dances, Jack protested. You do not need to, she said with a smile. Just follow me. And so he did. At first, he moved stiffly, feeling like every villager was watching his every step. But Salira laughed. A soft, musical sound, and spun around him, her glowing hair catching the light. Jack felt something loosen inside him. Soon he was laughing too, stumbling through the steps but no longer caring. The music was wild and strange, but it was alive, and so was Salira. When the dance ended, she leaned her head on his shoulder, breathing softly. You are not so bad at this, she whispered. Jack swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how close she was, how warm her skin felt against his. I had a good teacher, he said quietly. Later that night, as the village quieted, Jack sat outside staring at the stars. He had planned to fix the comms array tomorrow, maybe even get a signal out to human space. But now, he found himself wondering what would happen if help really came. Would he leave Salira behind? Would she even let him go? Salira appeared silently, sitting beside him. You are thinking again, she said gently. Jack nodded. Yeah. She reached for his hand, and this time he did not pull away. The next day, Jack woke to find Salira standing outside his shelter again. This time she was holding a clay bowl filled with small glowing flowers. What are those? He asked, sitting up. Dinner candles, she said seriously. Dinner what? You showed me, Salira said, stepping inside as if she owned the place. In the story, there was a table and small lights burned on it. Humans eat under small lights when they love someone. We will do the same. Jack rubbed his temples. Salira, that was just, never mind. By the time the sun set, she had completely rearranged his shelter. His workbench was cleared. A large flat stone served as a table, and glowing flowers were placed carefully around it like a ring of starlight. Sit, Salira ordered, pushing him gently toward the table. Jack sat. She sat across from him, her glowing eyes reflecting the flower light. She pushed a plate toward him. Eat. Jack glanced at the plate. Alien fruits glowing softly, and something that looked like roasted meat, though he decided not to ask what animal it came from. Do you always make people eat under glowing plants? He asked. Yes, she said, chewing delicately. It shows you are not afraid of sharing your light. Jack had no idea what that meant, but he ate anyway. Halfway through the meal, Salira got up, went to the corner, and began playing a small stringed instrument. The sound was soft and melodic, almost hypnotic. What is this for? Jack asked. Romance, she said simply. Humans play soft sounds when they love someone. Jack almost choked on his food. I told you that was just... He stopped when he saw her face. She was not teasing. She was not mocking. She was serious. And suddenly, he could not bring himself to argue. He leaned back, listening to the strange, haunting notes. For the first time in months, his shelter felt warm. In the following days, Salira became a constant presence. When Jack worked on the comms array, she brought him food and insisted he take breaks. When he walked through the village, she stayed close by his side, proudly holding his hand in public. When the young villagers saw them, they giggled and whispered, which made Jack turn red every single time. One afternoon, he found himself sitting with Salira's friends by the river. You must kiss her soon, one of them said with a grin. Jack nearly dropped the tool in his hand. What? In the story, another girl said, the joining is not full until the mouth touch. You must do it before the next moon rises. Jack opened his mouth to argue, then shut it again. Arguing never worked. Salira was sitting nearby, pretending not to listen but blushing so hard that her glowing skin turned a deeper shade of silver green. Jack turned away quickly, but he felt something strange in his chest. A flutter he could not ignore. That night, Salira tried to dance again, copying the steps from the movie she had memorized. She moved awkwardly at first, trying to twirl the way the actress had. Jack could not help laughing. That is not how humans do it. You are going to trip. Salira stopped, pouting. Then show me. Jack hesitated, then stood up. He placed his hands on her waist, guiding her slowly. This is how you do it, he said softly. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide. Better. Jack swallowed hard. Much better. They moved together in the dim light, the air quiet except for the sound of their feet. When the dance ended, Salira stayed close, her breath warm on his chest. You are learning, she said softly. Jack smiled faintly. Yeah, I guess I am. Over the next several days, the rituals became less awkward. Jack found himself looking forward to Salira's visits. Her laughter stopped sounding silly. Now it sounded like something he needed. She made mistakes sometimes. Burning food, tripping over her own feet during dances, getting words wrong. But each mistake made her laugh harder, and somehow that made Jack laugh too. One evening, as they sat under the alien stars, Salira rested her head on his shoulder. You do not look lonely anymore, she whispered. Jack turned his head slightly. Maybe I am not. Jack had stopped counting the days. At first, he had measured time by how many repairs he finished or how many comms checks failed. Now, he measured it by something else. How many times Salira came by, how many times she made him laugh, how many times she made the long alien nights feel less empty. He no longer corrected her when she called him husband. One evening, as the sky turned a deep violet, Jack was sitting outside, cleaning a piece of equipment, when Salira appeared with 2 steaming bowls. Dinner? He asked. Yes, she said, setting one bowl in front of him. But special dinner. For happiness. Jack smiled and took a bite. The food was sweet and tangy, unlike anything from Earth, but somehow comforting. You know, he said slowly, on Earth, sharing a meal is not always about marriage. Salira's ears twitched. But you still like sharing with me. Jack hesitated, then nodded. Yes, I like sharing with you. Salira smiled softly. Then that is enough. The days became a rhythm. When Jack worked on repairs, Salira was there, handing him tools, asking questions, sometimes distracting him with her endless curiosity. When he rested, she told him stories about her people, about the glowing rivers that only appeared once every 10 years, about the festival of stars where everyone stayed awake until dawn. Jack found himself telling her about Earth, about cities that reached into the sky, about oceans that stretched farther than the eye could see, about movies that were not about marriage. Salira listened to everything, her eyes wide and shining. You must take me there one day, she said. Jack looked away. Maybe, he said quietly, if I can ever get a signal out. Salira tilted her head. Would you go without me? The question hit him harder than he expected. He looked at her for a long moment, then said, I do not think I want to. Her lips curved into the smallest, shyest smile he had ever seen. One afternoon, Jack found himself standing at the edge of the village, watching Salira teach a group of children how to weave glowing flowers into rings. She was laughing, her hair glowing faintly in the sun, her hands moving quickly and gently. He felt something shift inside him. For the first time since he crashed here, he realized he was no longer thinking about escape every single minute of the day. He was thinking about her. When she noticed him watching, she blushed and turned away. That night, she brought a small carved figure to his shelter. It was a carving of the two of them, standing side by side, their hands joined. You carved this? Jack asked, touched. Salira nodded. It is us. I made it so you remember me when you leave. Jack stared at her. Salira, I do not want to forget you, and I do not want to leave you. Her eyes widened. You mean it? Jack nodded. Yes, I mean it. Salira's expression softened. She stepped closer, her glowing fingers brushing his arm. You do not just say this because the village makes you? She asked quietly. No, Jack said firmly. I say it because I want to. Salira's breath caught. She reached out, taking his hand gently. Then maybe, she said softly. You are my husband not because of the steps, but because you choose to be. Jack squeezed her hand. Yeah, he whispered. I think you are right. From that day on, everything felt different. Jack found himself joining her willingly at the evening feasts. He danced without hesitation, even laughing when he stumbled. He held her hand in public without feeling awkward. The teasing from her friends no longer embarrassed him. Now it made him smile. Salira noticed the change too. Her laughter became softer, her blushes deeper. There was no more awkwardness between them, only a warm, growing closeness. One night, as they sat by the river, Salira replayed the movie on Jack's datapad. When the final wedding scene came on, she looked at him nervously. This is the last step, she said quietly. Is it not? Jack looked at her for a long moment. This time he did not laugh. He did not argue. Yes, he said softly. It is. The next morning, the village buzzed with energy. Word had spread faster than Jack thought possible. Everyone seemed to know what was coming. The elders prepared the central clearing with glowing vines and polished stones. Children hung flowers from the tall trees, their laughter echoing in the air. Musicians tuned their instruments, creating a low, steady rhythm that vibrated in Jack's chest. Salira appeared in front of his shelter, wearing a garland of pale silver blossoms. Her hair shimmered softly in the sunlight, and her glowing eyes looked nervous but determined. You are ready? She asked softly. Jack swallowed hard. Yes, I am ready. Her shoulders relaxed, and she smiled. Then come. They are waiting. When they reached the clearing, the entire village stood in a circle, humming softly. The elder stepped forward, holding a bowl of water that glowed faintly in the twilight. Two have joined, the elder said in a deep, resonant voice. Two have walked the steps together. Tonight they choose to make it true. Jack and Salira stood at the center, facing each other. Jack's heart pounded. He thought about the night he first showed her the movie, how lonely he had been, how empty the world felt. He thought about how she had brought color back into his days, how her laughter had pulled him out of the dark. Salira looked at him with wide, shining eyes, waiting. The elder dipped a hand into the glowing water and touched both of their foreheads. Speak, he said. Salira's voice was soft but steady. I choose him, not because of the steps, not because of the story, because my heart says he is mine. Jack felt a lump in his throat. When it was his turn, he took a deep breath. I choose her, he said, his voice carrying across the clearing. Not because of pressure, not because of misunderstanding, because I do not want to imagine my life without her. The villagers cheered. Music filled the air. Salira reached for his hands, her fingers glowing faintly. The last step, she whispered. Jack smiled, pulling her close. Yes, this time for real. He kissed her, softly, carefully, and the cheering grew louder until it felt like the whole world was celebrating with them. The feast that followed lasted until the stars burned bright overhead. Jack and Salira danced together, not awkwardly this time but with ease, as if they had been doing it forever. Salira laughed when Jack stumbled, and he laughed too, holding her tighter. Later, when the clearing finally grew quiet, Jack and Salira sat together near the fire. She leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. You are smiling, she said sleepily. Yeah, Jack said, gazing at the stars. I think this is the first time this world feels like home. Salira's eyes closed. Then we have done it right. Jack kissed the top of her head and held her close as the fire burned low. For the first time since crashing on this alien world, he was not thinking about leaving. He was exactly where he wanted to be.